Can I get a mic check and a slide check real quick from somebody? Wonderful, thank you. We'll get started in a few seconds. All right, I show that it's 2 p.m. We'll get started. This is the 2 p.m. Saturday, January 18th winter weather webinar from the Austin San Antonio National Weather Service office. I am Paul Ura. I'm the warning coordination meteorologist. I'll be giving the briefing today. If you do have questions, you can put them in the questions feature of the GoToWebinar. I will get to the questions as best I can toward the very, very end. The next briefing will be tomorrow at the same time at 2 o'clock. So some of the important updates, we did issue a cold weather advisory already. That is going to be basically because of the temperatures and the wind chills that are expected overnight tonight into Sunday morning. Chances of getting winter precipitation have increased slightly. There are increasing chances of now a lot of a wintry mix. A couple of days ago, models were kind of showing snow in a certain area and other stuff, freezing rain, sleet somewhere else. Now it's a little bit more complicated, and so we're not still very, very low confidence actually in the type of frozen precipitation and the actual amounts that we're going to be getting. So hopefully, as we get sooner and sooner closer to the actual event, we'll get some better details with that. The main point: the cold front has arrived, came through late last night, early this morning. The temperatures will significantly drop tonight and then remain cold through midweek. There are hard freezes that are expected not only Sunday morning, especially out in the hill country, tomorrow morning, but pretty much every morning all the way through Wednesday morning. Again, because the cold weather advisory has been issued, that's what we're kind of banking on there. And there is now a high chance, that's upwards of a 70% chance for winter precipitation occurring in some of our areas. Now, still the most favored areas are kind of the northern and eastern sections of our south central Texas area, including I-35 corridor and the coastal plains. The chances have gone up a little bit out in the western hill country and portions of the Rio Grande Plains and Edwards Plateau that they will actually get some sort of frozen precipitation. Those chances are lower, and those totals would actually likely be lower as well as of right now. The timing is kind of narrowing. We really kind of think Monday evening through the early portions of Tuesday morning. So it's not going to be a very long extended portion where we're expecting some precipitation, but obviously because it's so cold, that'll have impacts. Increasing confidence of minor to moderate travel impacts. So we've added the term moderate travel impacts now into portions of the area. But again, still low confidence in the actual totals of the ice or freezing rain and or sleet or snow, just because there's still some uncertainty on the models. And we're still technically pretty far out from the actual event itself to have any particulars with that. Current conditions, you can see temperatures out in the 50s across the northern half of south central Texas. The southern half, nice and toasty into the mid 70s down by the Rio Grande Plains and the Rio Grande River down there. So again, we're kind of at where we're at, and primarily sunny skies out there as I can see through my window. So that high pressure that you see up in Canada is going to be working its way down over the next several days, and that's where our Arctic air is coming from. This is a map that kind of shows the cold weather advisory that's already in effect. I did get word that San Angelo is going to be issuing one as well, so most likely these counties upwards of I-10 northwest of the hill country are going to be filling in with their region with a cold advisory as well. Again, kind of showing that wind chill readings and temperatures, but mainly wind chills for this one, will be down into the teens and possibly even in the single digits out in the hill country. So there's a risk of hypothermia, and of course, protect the 4 Ps, people, pets, pipes, and plants. Morning temperatures tomorrow morning, you can kind of see a hard freeze out in the hill country on the far left. We will, because we're going to be still under sunny skies, warm into the upper 30s in the hill country, 40s elsewhere. So definitely a chilly day. The wind will be kind of blowing, so we're going to be having some pretty decent wind chills, but nothing extraordinary. So most likely what's going to happen, that cold weather advisory is probably going to be expiring tomorrow morning. We will probably have to reissue it for Monday morning and probably even extend that out for a couple of days. So just a heads up on that. Monday morning, even colder, hard freeze everywhere, teens out in the hill country, low to mid 20s elsewhere. And as far as temperatures on Monday warming up, if the clouds kind of stay away for at least the first part of the day, which they're expected to, we should warm up above freezing in all areas. And so that'll be good, because that may be the last time people see above freezing temperatures, especially out in the hill country, maybe for about a day. The precipitation is expected to start by late afternoon, primarily in the evening hours. So the clouds will roll in, the precipitation may start to form and fall, especially down to the south first, and kind of work its way up into our region. But by evening time, we should see that. For Tuesday, morning low temperatures again, hard freeze everywhere, high temperatures. You can see these on the far right here. There's a lot of the area, especially if we're getting precipitation, that will be struggling to hit freezing mark. So there are going to be some spots in here where 24 hours below freezing is probably likely. Where that exactly is going to be, it's too hard to tell, but primarily it would be anywhere in the north, the northeast, or central areas where precipitation is falling, where you'd be struggling to hit the freezing mark, or get above the freezing mark, I guess I'll say. Again, the precipitation should be ending in the morning hours on Tuesday, and then general improving type weather, especially from a precipitation standpoint, the rest of the day on Tuesday. And then finally on Wednesday, again, we kind of advertised this yesterday, Wednesday morning should be the coldest morning. If there is snow, let's say, that does fall even just a little bit, those temperatures could even be a little bit cooler, just because if snow was actually on the ground, then that actually aids in getting some really, really cold temperatures. If you remember that back, like from the 2021 event that we had. But too early to tell right now, but definitely the coldest morning will be Wednesday morning as of right now, with teens in a lot of different locations across most of South Central Texas. And then because we are expecting some clearing skies too on Wednesday, we should be able to warm up above freezing into the 40s. Lowest wind chills across that 3-day time frame are teens and possibly even some single digits out in the hill country. Again, that's why we're going to be running with those cold weather advisories during that time. Okay, I showed some of these different winter storm impact maps the last couple of days. I'm going to continue to do it so you see the trends. This time frame of 6 p.m. Monday is actually improved. The minor impacts that are expecting, there's a very low chance now. These chances were actually higher yesterday. So a little bit of a, again, a narrowing of the window of when we think the precipitation and impacts will start. So most of Monday should be fine with precipitation, or at least chances of some sort of winter precipitation and travel impacts. However, those impacts do start to increase. As you see on this map, the probabilities start to increase as we get to midnight, late Monday night into early Tuesday morning. Again, favored primarily in the northern sections of South Central Texas. And then that further increases chances by 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, where we now are into a medium to even high risk area where we have the risk for minor impacts. Again, by minor impacts, we talk about driving conditions, not horrific sort of driving conditions, but enough that you really have to use caution, and primarily when we start talking about bridges and overpasses. So overnight Monday into early Tuesday morning, we should be starting to see impacts across at least a large section of South Central Texas where we could have some of those bridge and overpass issues. Now by 6 p.m. Tuesday, you can kind of see that that whole area has expanded with the chances of getting minor impacts, including out into the hill country and portions of the Rio Grande Plains. This is a little bit different than yesterday. We really weren't talking much about chances or probabilities of something happening out along the Rio Grande or the Western hill country, et cetera. Well, now we kind of have to, especially one of the newer models that have come into range has started to increase some chances of precipitation out there. And so the blend of models that we use has latched onto that. And so now you can see our probabilities have expanded westward into portions of the hill country. Again, we're still pretty far out. We're still several days out. So these changes can go backwards again. And then by 6 a.m., on Tuesday. These are now moderate impacts. So again, switching to, okay, some bigger issues on roads. What are we expecting? Well, overall, the chances remain low still. So this heightens my confidence that, we're not talking about a 2021 event with that amount of snow or that amount of ice, but as we know, any amount of ice on the roads and overpasses here can cause issues. Push that off a little bit now to 6 p.m. on Tuesday. Moderate impacts expected. Again, the percentages are relatively low, but they are creeping into the medium category, especially the northern sections or northeast sections of South Central Texas. As we talk about Wednesday, I know a lot of people will be making some decisions on Wednesday morning, and particularly, there is still the possibility of having some minor impacts around, especially on the northern half or the northern 2/3 of South Central Texas. Obviously, it all depends on what happens on Monday night and Tuesday morning. But with the temperatures being so cold, we could see some lingering road effects as of right now by Wednesday morning. It's too early to tell. We're multiple days away from that, but something to keep in mind. I've showed these chances last couple of days. This is the probability of getting at least 1/2 inch of snow. And again, we kind of talked yesterday about how areas to the east toward Houston, Louisiana, those probabilities are much, much higher. So we're right on the edge of where we're going to be with, are we going to get some or are we not going to get some snow, and if it's going to be amounting to anything. And so unfortunately, we're teetering right on that edge. And you can see these probabilities are kind of in that low to medium range of getting just 1/2 inch of snow. When we talk about areas of also some concern would be down of our coastal plains, areas of near Cuero and Kennedy, down toward Victoria area. The coastal plains of Texas here, we actually have pretty high probabilities of getting at least 0.01 inches of freezing rain or some sort of icy mix like that. So that's out there. And then these are the probabilities of getting 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. So, this would push those impacts higher, obviously, on roads if we get 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. But the probabilities are starting to increase a little bit down in this region. So this is an area of interest that we'll pay attention to, and particularly tomorrow and on Monday, obviously, when the latest forecasts come in as to what the concerns are down in our coastal plains. So wrapping it up again with the main points, the front has pushed through. The cold air is here. It is going to remain here all the way through middle to end of the week. The coldest, again, morning is probably going to be that Wednesday morning. The cold weather advisories issued primarily through that whole time frame. The chances of getting winter precipitation have increased, again, slightly, but each day they're kind of increasing a bit. Especially, we're concentrating on the eastern half of our area, so that's the eastern hill country, I-35 to the coastal plains. Introduce a little bit of a higher chance now into the western hill country and areas out to my west, the Rio Grande, Eagle Pass, Del Rio areas, Carrizo, all those, but they are lower chances. The timing is narrowing. Monday evening through probably the morning hours of rush hour and stuff through Tuesday morning. And hopefully precipitation will be pushing west to east across the region and should be out of here by Tuesday afternoon. But still low confidence on especially the ice totals and possible snow totals. We are seeing more indications of getting a wintry mix in places, which includes the sleet and everything else. So that's very typical here in South Central Texas. So it's not going to be easy for the next couple of days to figure out what are we going to get exactly. So, but we'll hopefully try to figure it all out in the next 48 hours or so. So that is the end of the briefing. When the slides come out to you, there are additional slides that will show the preparedness website, some of the forecast websites. So pay attention to the slides, because right after this slide, I do have some things about with the advisory criteria, the watch warning advisory, when we would typically issue those products, and some other websites of interest. So with that, I'm going to start looking at the questions here and see what I can answer. So stand by. Someone had mentioned all the dates showing January 21st. I'll double check on all of my slides before I send them out to make sure that they're correct. But will ice accumulation in Travis County most likely melt the day on Tuesday or expect to remain in place through Wednesday morning? Blake, that will really remain on the, it'll rely on the temperatures, to be honest, obviously. So if we stay below freezing, then the answer is no, it's not going to melt away. And if we can get a few degrees up there into that 33, 34 range, depending on how much falls, if it's just a little bit, then yes, we could have some melting. If there's a bunch more than we're forecasting right now, obviously that'll be tougher to totally get rid of everything by the time everything cools down again overnight. So still, it's plausible that some of that ice, if it does fall, will actually kind of stick around. Okay, yeah, I'll pay attention, and I'll go back and make sure that the slides are correct on the minor and moderate slides. So it looks like the timing of the precipitation is after midnight Tuesday morning. When does it end? So as of right now, we could be getting some precipitation to fall as early as Monday evening. Now, the chances go up dramatically as we get into the late evening hours and into that midnight hour, but I can't rule out that we might be getting some precipitation already by, like I said, early evening hours on Monday. But definitely the chances go up at around midnight, and in that whole, about a 12-hour window from basically 6 p.m. Monday all the way through 6 a.m. Tuesday, but lingering then stuff in the morning probably. So 12 to 18 hours worth of precipitation. Will an updated situation report be sent out this afternoon? Yes, they're working on it right now. It should be out within the hour. Currently looks like Bexar County and San Antonio will receive 32 or below temperatures around 7 a.m. Sunday. Yeah, depending on the locations of San Antonio, as you know, areas in the north are going to be colder than downtown San Antonio. So yes, there's some areas, particularly if I look at the slide for low temperatures tomorrow morning. Yes, there's going to be some spots, especially the northwest section of Bexar County, that will be below freezing. So yeah, there'll be some spots below freezing tonight in Bexar County. So any other questions before we sign off? Oh yeah, and I see my one error here. Right, this Wednesday date needs to be changed, I think. So I'll make sure I do that. Okay, with that, again, next briefing is tomorrow at 2 p.m. I will get all the slides out and the recording of this ASAP. So thank you everybody for attending, and we will talk to everybody tomorrow.